Vice President Kamala Harris made an appearance on a show called The Morning Hustle recently, and in that show, during that show, she was asked about Ukraine and the war going on there, and she made some comments that many have taken as kind of demeaning to Americans, that she kind of belittled us, that she treated us like children. And you've probably heard the clips, or at least you've heard about the clip, which is why you've come here. That's why you've landed here. You're curious about it. And what we're going to do in this video is we're going to dig into what she said. We're going to play that clip for you. Interestingly enough, there's a part of the interview where, in my opinion, she actually gets it right. So we're going to play that clip as well. And then we're going to talk about what it is that we should really understand about how she's coming across to Americans and how she feels about Americans, because I think there's some caution in here as well. And in all fairness, I want to cover things from all sides, because look, you can look at what she said, and we're going to hear it in just a moment, and you can feel that you have been degraded by her, that it's demeaning, that it's belittling, and I wouldn't disagree with you, but the analysis of it can't stop there. You have to also look at what it is that we can learn from this, and what kind of cautionary tale that we have here, because it's important. You can't just look at things from one side. The only way we get better is to fully understand the entire picture of what's going on. So that's what I'm going to try to paint here today. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the clip that everybody's been talking about, that everybody's got a problem with, and we're going to play that right now so we can analyze real quick. So here's that audio.
Is going on right now in the Ukraine. Break it down in layman's terms for people who don't understand what's going on and how can this directly affect the people of the United States.
So Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically that's wrong.
Okay. So it's not hard to figure out why a lot of the interwebs has a problem with this. Quite frankly, I've got a problem with it too. I'm not going to lie to you. I find it insulting. She's on the show and she's saying, Russia's a big country and Ukraine's a little country, and they're over in the east side of Europe, talking to that audience like they're in kindergarten. And she really is. There's no other way to look at it. And if you look at my thumbnail that I put up, I'm kind of reflecting that idea. She's talking to them like they're little school children, and it is ridiculous. If I was a member of that audience, I would feel insulted by that for sure. I'm not surprised that the host didn't call her out on it, because judging from what I can gather about the political leanings of the show from some things I've read and clips that I've looked at, I think they lean more in her direction politically, and that's fine. They're perfectly welcome to, and I don't want to sit in judgment of the show either, because I'm not a listener to it. They're not even aired in our area. But regardless of that, I'm not surprised they didn't call her out too, because she's the vice president. You want to be respectful and stuff, but she was definitely demeaning. Now, what's interesting, and this isn't getting played, but I want to be fair with things and look at things from all sides, because that's how you can truly judge something and learn from it. The very next sentence, she actually starts to get it right. So let me play that clip, because this is equally interesting in my view. So let's go ahead and listen.
And it goes against everything that we stand for. There are terms that we use. We say we respect the sovereignty, the territorial integrity of countries, right? Their independence. Russia has gone into Ukraine militarily, unprovoked, with no justification other than to exercise its power to take over another country.
Okay, so the host asked her to define, in quote, layman's terms, what this struggle in Ukraine was all about, okay? And in that second part of what she was saying, she actually gets it right. She uses words that I would describe as layman, but not demeaning and not belittling. She describes what's going on. She's describing the idea of a sovereign country and how they've gone in to take control of that sovereign country and stuff like that. It all makes sense. It's easy to understand. It's in layman terms, but it's also not demeaning. If she had just led with that statement, I wouldn't be making this video right now. We wouldn't be talking about it at all. You wouldn't have landed on this video out of curiosity, wondering what it was she said. So it's amazing to me just how she gets herself into these traps sometimes, how all politicians do, to be honest with you. They don't think through their words. They just blurt out stuff, and it makes you wonder if the first thing they blurt out isn't really what's top of mind, if it isn't really what they think of us. And maybe that second sentence was a fast correction on her part, where she's trying to walk back a little bit of what she said. Because again, tell me in the comments if you disagree, but that second piece of it, that felt okay. That could have been what she said. It would have equally gotten the message across in, quote, layman's terms as to what's going on, and everybody would have been happy. So, was she demeaning to us? Yes. But the interesting thing was she had the ability to get it right. But here's what I want to talk about real quick before we just say this is what she said and we move on. I think we have to look at what it says about us as Americans. And I'm not talking about you, friend, as a specific person, but we have to look beyond us as the specific person and look at kind of our country as a whole, okay? And how it is that we're doing with things. So the immediate question I had after listening to this was, does she at all have a point? Now, that sounds a little loaded perhaps for me to say it that way, but is there a reason why she would talk down to us? Are we deserving of it, perhaps? That's what I want to ask. So let's take a look at something, because I went and did some digging. If you're on YouTube or Rumble, you can look on your screen right now because you're visually gifted. This article from Morning Consult, 34% of Americans can find Ukraine on a map. That means 66% can't, folks. 2/3 of our country couldn't find Ukraine on a map. Okay, I don't know about you. I think that's a problem. This tweet from Morning Consult again, and this is back from January of 2020. And this is when Trump took out Soleimani in Iran. Just 28% of registered voters could find Iran on map. That's even less than the number that can find Ukraine, which, by the way, to go back to Ukraine, if you went back to 2014, when the last stuff was going on with Ukraine, the Crimea and all of that, okay, it was more like 14, 15% of U.S. citizens could find Ukraine on a map. So we're geographically challenged, to be sure. We're not overly aware of what's going on in the world. We're not in tune with it. But so much of the rest of the world is. I remember there was a time where I was talking with a friend of mine online, and she lives down in Australia. And I was bringing up some places with her that were in the United States. And I said, well, do you know where this is? And do you know where that was? And she kind of was a little bit insulted. She's like, of course I do. Of course I know where those places are. But that's because she's in tune to what's going on in the world. She's got a knowledge base that goes beyond just her own sphere, right? But so many of us do not, and that's evident just in the stats, and that's frightening. And if you think that, we can rely on media to help us out, check out this. This was NBC Nightly News. This is a graphic that they used at the beginning of the COVID pandemic. They have mislabeled where Shanghai, Beijing, and Wuhan are on the map. And that's NBC News, a, quote, trusted source. They've mislabeled it. And not to be outdone, Hurricane Dorian, this from CNN, see right here where I'm circling Georgia? See what they've labeled to the left of it? Friends, that's not Mississippi right there. That's Alabama. So, and CNN's based in Atlanta. They're right next door to that state. They're right next door to Alabama, and they get it wrong. Just saying. So, well, Kamala Harris was definitely insulting to us. I think that it's an opportunity for us to perhaps look deeper too and say, hey, Are we really up to the cause of getting in her face and saying, don't insult us, we're smarter than that? Individually, perhaps, but as a country, I think that has to come into question. And it talks a whole lot about the quality of our education. And that is certainly a large subject that should not be covered in this video. That's libraries of videos on their own, to be sure. But I would tell you for certain that there are holes in our education, and they've been there for decades. I'll be honest, in my youth, I had, not youth like tiny, I mean like in my 20s, okay? I had 3 children, they're adults now, but I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to their education as far as really digging into what they were learning. I mean, I was there to help them, I was there to answer questions, to help with homework, things like that. But did I really dig into what they were learning? No, I just assumed it was happening. Now, later in life, I've had another child, and we're actually teaching him ourselves. He is homeschooled because I've figured out that there's so much that is being left out. And I'm not asking you to go and homeschool your children, but I do think that we have to do a better job with our youth and frankly with ourselves of understanding the world stage. We have to understand where the players are, at least at a basic level, what it is that the players stand for and what they want. And then we need to pass that on to our children. Because as insulting as Kamala was in that interview, it's hard to look at the stats. It's hard to look at the mistakes that have been made by our mainstream media alone and go, yeah, we're perfectly innocent. She had every right to do what she did. Maybe she did. I don't know. But if we're being honest, I think we need to look within ourselves and make sure that we have all of our I's dotted and our T's crossed before we just go crazy on her for talking down to us. And believe me, I'm pissed that she did. But I think we learned something from it too, and we get better from it. That's my thoughts. Let me know what you think about that. Do you feel like she was talking down to us? Because I do. But do you also feel that maybe we need to do a better job of understanding our world so that she doesn't have the right to do that? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd appreciate it. If you've appreciated this video, please do hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do consider doing so and consider hitting the notification bell so you know when we post new videos. I do appreciate you, and until the next time I see you, thank you for watching.